When life feels heavy, when the weight of days presses down on your chest and the nights stretch longer than they should, I want you to understand something before anything else settles into your mind, and that is this. Heaviness is not a sign that you are weak. It is evidence that you have been carrying responsibility, love, disappointment, hope, effort, and endurance for a long time. And anyone who tells you that strength means feeling nothing has never truly lived, because real strength is born in the presence of feeling, not its absence. And I speak to you now in a calm, steady tone because panic has never built a strong future, and noise has never healed a tired soul. Only truth does. And the truth is that life was never designed to be easy or fair in equal measures. It was designed to test your character, refine your patience, and teach you how to stand upright, even when the ground beneath you feels uncertain. Because the world does not pause when you are tired, responsibilities do not step aside when you feel overwhelmed, and time does not slow down simply because your heart feels heavy. But within all of that pressure lies an invitation to become someone deeper, someone steadier, someone who understands that hardship is not punishment, but preparation. And most people misunderstand this part of life. They believe that struggle means something has gone wrong, when in fact, struggle often means something important is taking shape beneath the surface, something you cannot yet see, but will one day rely on. And when you feel burdened, when motivation feels distant and clarity feels blurred, it is easy to assume that you are falling behind, that others have figured something out that you have not. But the truth is that everyone you admire has carried invisible weight at some point. Everyone who stands with quiet confidence today once stood in confusion yesterday, and the difference between those who grow and those who remain stuck is not luck or talent, it is their relationship with difficulty. Because some people allow difficulty to harden them, to make them bitter, resentful, defensive, while others allow it to deepen them, to make them wiser, more patient, more compassionate toward themselves and others. And that choice is made quietly, daily, in moments no one applauds, and you may not realize it yet. But right now, in this heavy season, you are practicing endurance. And endurance is one of the most powerful forces a human being can develop, because it teaches you how to remain standing when comfort disappears, how to keep moving when certainty fades, and how to trust yourself when external validation grows silent. And the world rarely celebrates endurance because it is not flashy. It does not announce itself. It does not arrive with trophies or instant results, but it builds something far more valuable, an inner stability that cannot be taken from you when circumstances change. And you see, life will change. Again and again, people will leave, plans will collapse, expectations will break, and the version of the future you once imagined may never arrive in the way you thought it would. But that does not mean your life is smaller. It means it is different. And different is not failure. Different is growth wearing unfamiliar clothes. And the heavy moments you're experiencing now are not here to crush you. They are here to ask you who you will become when the easy answers disappear, when the shortcuts no longer work, and when patience becomes your primary skill. Because patience is not passive. Patience is disciplined waiting. It is the decision to stay present instead of escaping, to stay honest instead of numbing, to stay committed instead of quitting. And that decision shapes you more than any success ever will. And I know there are days when you wake up already tired, when the idea of starting again feels exhausting, when your mind replays mistakes and your heart carries quiet grief for things you never got to say or do. And in those moments, it is tempting to believe that rest means giving up. But rest and surrender are not the same thing. Rest is strategic. It is the pause that allows strength to return. And you are allowed to rest without guilt. You are allowed to breathe without explaining yourself. You are allowed to take life one day at a time without feeling ashamed for not having everything figured out. Because no one truly does, no matter how confident they appear. And if you listen closely to your heaviness instead of fighting it, you will notice it is trying to teach you something about your limits, your values, and your priorities. It is asking you to stop proving and start grounding, to stop chasing and start building, to stop reacting and start choosing. And this is where real power begins. not in control over the world, but in mastery over your responses. Because while you cannot control what happens to you, you can control how deeply it defines you. And every time you choose calm over chaos, reflection over reaction, discipline over impulse, you reclaim a piece of yourself that stress tries to steal. And you begin to realize that strength is not about being unbreakable. It is about being flexible without losing integrity, firm without becoming rigid, open without becoming fragile. And these qualities are not learned in comfort. They are learned in weight, in repetition, in showing up even when the reward is not immediate. And this is why the heaviest seasons often precede the most meaningful transformations, because they force you to confront what truly matters. They strip away distractions, and they reveal your core. And your core is stronger than you think, even now, even when you doubt it. Because the very fact that you are still here, still listening, still searching for meaning instead of escape, tells me that something resilient lives inside you, something that refuses to disappear even when circumstances try to silence it. And you must understand this clearly. Feeling heavy does not mean you are failing at life. It means you are living it honestly, fully, without numbing yourself to reality. And honesty is the foundation of growth, because you cannot heal what you refuse to acknowledge, and you cannot build strength on denial, only on truth. And the truth is that you have already survived moments you once believed would end you. You have adapted to changes you never wanted, and you have carried responsibilities that demanded more from you than you thought you had. And you are still here, which means your capacity is greater than your fear, greater than your doubt, greater than the stories your mind tells you in the dark. And as heavy as life may feel right now, it is not here to stay forever. Nothing ever does. Seasons change whether we are ready or not. And when this season passes, as it will, you will not be the same person who entered it. You will be steadier, more grounded, less easily shaken, and more aware of your own strength. And that awareness will become your anchor. Because once you know what you can endure, the future loses some of its power to intimidate you. And instead of asking why life feels heavy, you will begin asking how you can carry it with dignity, with purpose, and with daily discipline. Because strength is not built in dramatic moments. It is built in quiet persistence, in choosing to keep your values intact when pressure tempts you to abandon them, in choosing progress over perfection, and in choosing to believe that your life still has meaning, even when it does not feel light. And that belief, practiced daily, becomes the foundation upon which everything else is built. As you continue walking through this weight, there is something essential you must come to understand, and it may change the way you see your life from this moment forward. And that is the realization that heaviness does not arrive to destroy you. It arrives to slow you down enough to make you pay attention. Because most people rush through life chasing relief, comfort, validation, or escape. And in doing so, they miss the deeper work that only happens when things become uncomfortable, when distractions fall away, and you are left alone with your thoughts, your fears, your unresolved questions, and your quiet hopes. And it is in this space that character is either strengthened or slowly eroded. Because discomfort always asks something of you. It asks whether you will numb yourself or know yourself, whether you will blame the world or take responsibility for your growth, whether you will collapse inward or stand still long enough to gather wisdom. And the people who eventually rise are not the ones who avoid pain, but the ones who learn how to sit with it without letting it poison their spirit. Because pain is inevitable, but bitterness is optional. And bitterness is the true weight that breaks people, far more than circumstances ever could. Because bitterness turns lessons into resentments and obstacles into identities, while acceptance turns struggle into information and hardship into training. And when life feels heavy, it is often because you are being asked to grow beyond an old version of yourself that can no longer carry what lies ahead. And growth always feels like loss before it feels like expansion. It feels like confusion before it feels like clarity. And it feels like exhaustion before it feels like strength. And this is where patience becomes sacred, because patience allows the process to unfold without forcing outcomes that are not yet ready. And forcing life never works for long. It only creates temporary relief followed by deeper resistance, while patience builds a foundation strong enough to support lasting change. And one of the hardest truths to accept is that you do not heal by going back to who you were before the weight arrived. You heal by integrating what the weight taught you and becoming someone new, someone calmer under pressure, someone less reactive to chaos, someone who understands that peace is not the absence of problems but the presence of inner order. And inner order is created by discipline, reflection, and consistent self-respect, not by perfect circumstances. And when you feel overwhelmed, it is often because too many things are competing for your energy, your attention, your emotional investment. And part of becoming stronger is learning how to choose where your energy goes, because energy is finite. And when you spend it on resentment, comparison, regret, or fear, you starve the parts of yourself that need it most, like hope, creativity, patience, and self-belief. And the heavy seasons of life force you to prioritize whether you like it or not. They push you to let go of what drains you and focus on what sustains you. And though letting go can feel like failure at first, it is often the most courageous act you can make because it requires honesty, humility, and trust in the unknown. And trust is not blind optimism. It is the quiet confidence that you will adapt no matter what comes next, because you always have and you always will. And when you begin to trust yourself at this level, the future stops feeling like a threat and starts feeling like a responsibility. A responsibility to show up as your best self even when no one is watching, to honor your values even when shortcuts are available, and to build a life that is steady instead of flashy, meaningful instead of impressive. And this is where true success lives, not in applause but in alignment, not in recognition but in resilience. And resilience is built by doing small, difficult things consistently, like getting up when you want to stay down, speaking honestly when silence feels safer, resting when guilt tells you to push, and continuing when quitting seems justified. And these moments may seem insignificant in isolation, but together they shape your identity. And identity is the most powerful force in your life, because once you see yourself as someone who endures, who adapts, who learns, who remains grounded under pressure, your actions naturally follow that belief. And the weight you once feared becomes the training ground that forged this identity. And one day you will notice that what once felt unbearable no longer has the same grip on you. That challenges still arise, but they no longer define your worth or dictate your emotional state, because you have learned how to stand inside uncertainty without collapsing. And that is freedom. Not the freedom from struggle, but the freedom to remain whole within it. And this freedom does not arrive suddenly. It is built slowly, through repetition, awareness, and choice. And the choice you are making right now by listening, by reflecting, by refusing to give up on yourself even when things feel heavy, is shaping a future you cannot yet fully imagine. And there will come a time when someone else feels the same weight you feel now. And they will look at you and wonder how you remain so calm, so steady, so grounded. And they will not see the nights you doubted, the mornings you forced yourself forward, the seasons you endured in silence. But you will know, and that knowledge will give you quiet confidence, because you will understand that strength is not something you were given. It is something you earned through patience, discipline, and honesty. And as you continue on this daily path to strength, remember that progress does not require perfection, only commitment. That healing does not require speed, only sincerity, and that life does not require you to be fearless, only faithful to your values. And if today feels heavy, let it be heavy without letting it define you. Let it teach you without breaking you, and let it shape you into someone who carries weight with grace, wisdom, and quiet power. Because that is the kind of strength that lasts, the kind that does not fade when circumstances change, and the kind that will carry you forward, one steady step at a time.